Most gardeners struggle with tiny, disappointing garlic bulbs after months of waiting. But there's a plastic bottle method that produces full-sized garlic in half the time, and it doesn't require a single handful of soil. This sounds completely backwards. Growing garlic without any soil whatsoever. How can a plant that grows underground possibly thrive without dirt? But here's the reality. This method has been tested for 8 months, and the results are impressive. Full cloves ready in just 6 to 8 weeks instead of the usual 6 to 9 months. This technique works because it focuses the plant's energy exactly where it's needed. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to set it up in your own home. Garlic planted in garden beds faces constant challenges. The bulbs compete with weeds for nutrients. Soil temperature fluctuations slow down root development. Moisture levels swing from too wet to too dry. A typical garlic bulb planted in October won't be ready until the following July. That's 9 months of waiting, weeding, and hoping pests don't destroy the crop. Most disappointing? After all that time, many home gardeners end up with bulbs barely bigger than the cloves they planted. The problem isn't the garlic, it's the growing environment. Traditional soil-based garlic also requires specific timing. In most zones, garlic must be planted in fall, which means planting months ahead. Miss that window, and the entire year's garlic crop is lost. Spring-planted garlic rarely develops proper bulbs because it needs a cold period to trigger bulb formation. Then there's the soil preparation. Garlic demands loose, well-draining soil rich in organic matter. Heavy clay soil drowns the bulbs. Sandy soil dries out too fast. Getting the pH between 6.0 and 7.0 requires testing and amendments. All of this takes time, money, and knowledge that many gardeners simply don't have. Garlic doesn't actually need soil to grow. What it needs is water, nutrients, and something to anchor the roots. This is called hydroponics, which just means growing plants in water instead of dirt. Professional farmers have used hydroponic systems for decades because plants grow faster when they don't have to search for nutrients. Everything the plant needs is delivered directly to the roots. Here's what makes this work specifically for garlic. The clove itself contains all the stored energy needed to produce roots and shoots. In traditional soil growing, that energy gets spent slowly because the roots have to spread out searching for water and nutrients. In a controlled water environment, the roots get immediate access to everything they need, so growth happens much faster. Research from hydroponic farming operations shows that plants grown in water-based systems can grow up to 50% faster than their soil-grown counterparts. This happens because the plant doesn't waste energy developing extensive root systems to find moisture and food. Everything is right there, available 24 hours a day. For garlic specifically, this means the clove can push out roots and shoots simultaneously at maximum speed. In soil, root development usually comes first, then shoots follow. In water, both happen at once because there's no resistance and no searching required. The supply list is simple and cheap. One clean plastic bottle, any size from 16 ounces to 2 liters. Larger bottles give roots more room, but even small bottles work fine. A few garlic cloves, the bigger and healthier the better. Avoid cloves that are dried out, moldy, or sprouting already. Fresh cloves from the grocery store work perfectly. There's no need to buy expensive seed garlic from garden centers for this method. Look for garlic bulbs that feel firm and heavy. The papery outer skin should be intact and white or purple depending on the variety. Soft spots indicate rot inside. If the cloves have green shoots already poking through, they'll still work, but fresh cloves without shoots perform better. Clean water, preferably filtered or left sitting out for 24 hours so chlorine can evaporate. Tap water works fine in most areas, but heavily chlorinated city water can slow root development. If the tap water smells strongly of chlorine, definitely let it sit out overnight in an open container before using. Optional but helpful. Liquid fertilizer designed for vegetables diluted to quarter strength. Standard formulas with balanced NPK ratios work well. Avoid fertilizers designed specifically for flowering plants, as they're too high in phosphorus for garlic's needs during this growth phase. a sharp knife or scissors for cutting the bottle, a marker to mark the water line if desired. Toothpicks can help suspend the garlic clove at the right height, though they're not always necessary depending on the bottle opening size. Take the plastic bottle and cut it horizontally about 1/3 from the top. The bottom section becomes the water reservoir. The top section, flipped upside down, will hold the garlic clove with the pointed end up and the flat root end down. Make the cut clean and smooth. Jagged edges can damage roots as they grow. Some people prefer cutting the bottle in half instead of 1/3. This works too, but a shorter top section means less stability for the garlic clove. The 1/3 cut provides better balance and prevents the clove from tipping over. Fill the bottom section with water until it comes up about 1 inch from where the garlic will sit. The clove shouldn't be completely submerged. Only the bottom root plate needs to touch the water. If the entire clove sits under water, it will rot instead of root. This is critical. The rot happens because the clove tissues need some air exposure. Completely waterlogged cloves can't breathe and quickly develop bacterial or fungal problems. Place the garlic clove in the inverted top section, positioning it so just the flat bottom barely touches the water surface. Some people poke toothpicks into the sides of the clove to suspend it at the right height, creating a little platform. Others just nestle it carefully in the bottleneck opening. If using toothpicks, insert them at a slight upward angle so they rest on the rim of the bottom bottle section. The goal is to have the root plate just kissing the water surface. Too high and the roots dry out before reaching water. Too low and rot sets in. Within 3 to 5 days, small white roots will emerge from the bottom of the clove. This happens much faster than in soil because the garlic immediately detects moisture. The roots appear as tiny white threads at first, barely visible. By day 7, there should be a thick cluster of white roots reaching down into the water, and a green shoot starting to poke out from the top of the clove. These initial roots are incredibly delicate. Healthy roots stay bright white and firm. If they turn brown, slimy, or develop a foul smell, something is wrong, usually too much submersion or contaminated water. Keep the water level consistent during this critical first week. Check it daily. Water evaporates faster than most people expect, especially in heated homes during winter or air-conditioned rooms in summer. If the water level drops and the roots dry out, growth stops and the clove may die. Even a few hours of dried-out roots can set the plant back significantly. Room temperature water works best between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Water that's too cold slows growth dramatically. Water that's too warm encourages bacterial growth and can cook the delicate new roots. If the house runs cold, placing the bottle in a slightly warmer spot like near a heat vent or on top of a refrigerator can help, as long as it's not too hot. During this first week, the green shoot development varies. Some cloves send up shoots immediately within 2 to 3 days. Others take the full week. This depends on the clove's dormancy status and how much energy it has stored. Both patterns are normal as long as roots are developing. This is where the method really shows its advantage. The green shoots will grow incredibly fast, sometimes an inch or two per day. These shoots need bright light. Place the bottle near a south-facing window where it gets at least 6 hours of sunlight daily. Without enough light, the shoots become pale, weak, and floppy. They'll grow tall and thin, a condition called leggy growth that produces weak, flavorless greens. East or west-facing windows can work if they get strong, morning or afternoon sun. North-facing windows usually don't provide enough light intensity. In winter months when daylight is limited, even south-facing windows might not give enough light. The shoots will still grow, but more slowly. The roots will also expand dramatically during this period, filling the water reservoir with a dense white mass. This is exactly what you want to see. Those roots are absorbing water and nutrients at maximum efficiency. A healthy root system at this stage looks like a thick white beard hanging down into the water. Some roots grow straight down while others branch and create a complex network. Change the water every 3 to 4 days during this stage. Stagnant water develops bacteria and algae that can damage the roots. When changing water, be gentle. Lift out the top section with the garlic still attached, dump the old water, Rinse the bottom reservoir and refill with fresh water. Don't blast the roots with strong water flow during rinsing. A gentle rinse is enough. If algae starts growing on the inside of the bottle, visible as green or brown film, scrub it off during water changes. Algae compete with the garlic roots for oxygen and can create slimy conditions that suffocate roots. Clear bottles show algae growth more obviously, which is actually helpful for monitoring. If using fertilizer, add it at quarter strength every other water change. Too much fertilizer burns the roots. Quarter strength means if the bottle says use 1 teaspoon per gallon, use 1/4 teaspoon instead. Garlic doesn't need heavy feeding, especially in this concentrated environment. Over-fertilizing causes more problems than under-fertilizing. Signs of fertilizer burn include brown root tips and stunted shoot growth. Here's something interesting that surprises most people. The original clove will shrink and eventually become papery and hollow. This is normal and actually a good sign. The clove is transferring all its stored energy into the roots and shoots. Think of it like a battery powering up the new plant. Once that energy is depleted, the clove is done with its job. Some cloves last longer than others depending on their initial size and how much energy they stored. Large, firm cloves produce more vigorous growth than small, soft ones. A big clove might stay somewhat firm for 6 weeks, while a small clove could be completely hollow by week 4. As the clove depletes, it might develop a stronger smell. This is the sulfur compounds concentrating as water content decreases. The smell isn't harmful and doesn't indicate rot unless it's accompanied by brown, slimy tissue. Around week 5 or 6, growth often slows down noticeably. The shoots stop reaching upward as fast. New leaf production decreases. This happens because the plant has used up most of the energy from the original clove and hasn't developed a proper bulb to store new energy. In soil, garlic would start forming a new bulb at this point. In water, it can't do that as effectively. This is the limitation of the bottle method. It's not designed to produce mature bulbs for storage. What it does produce are fresh garlic greens and small young bulbs perfect for immediate use in cooking. Understanding this limitation prevents disappointment. The method excels at producing fresh garlic flavor quickly, not creating storage bulbs for winter. Some gardeners try to push the system further by adding stronger fertilizer at this stage, hoping to encourage bulb formation. This rarely works and often causes root burn. The plant needs soil and seasonal cues to form proper storage bulbs. Water alone can't provide that, no matter how much fertilizer is added. Submerging the entire clove underwater is the #1 killer. Only the root plate should touch water. Too much water causes rot. The rot spreads quickly and there's no saving a clove once it starts. The smell becomes unbearable and the clove turns to brown mush within days. Using tap water with high chlorine without letting it sit out first. Chlorine damages delicate new roots. The damage appears as brown tips on roots and very slow root development. Sometimes roots stop growing entirely after the initial white threads appear. Placing the bottle in low light or away from windows. Garlic shoots need strong light or they become weak and pale. These pale shoots have almost no flavor. They're mostly water with very little of the sulfur compounds that give garlic its characteristic taste and health benefits. Forgetting to change the water regularly. Stagnant water breeds bacteria and algae that suffocate roots. The water will develop a swampy smell. Roots turn brown and slimy. Once this happens, the only solution is starting over with a fresh clove and being more diligent about water changes. Not providing enough root space. Using a bottle that's too small restricts root growth and limits the plant's overall development. A 16-ounce bottle is absolute minimum. Anything smaller, and the roots quickly run out of room. When roots have no space to expand, growth stops regardless of how much energy remains in the clove. At 6 to 8 weeks, the garlic is ready to harvest. Pull the entire plant out of the bottle. There will be a small, immature bulb at the base where the roots meet the clove. This bulb won't have the typical separated cloves of mature garlic, but it has full garlic flavor and can be used just like regular garlic in any recipe. The bulb will be smaller than store-bought garlic, usually about the size of a large marble or small walnut. Despite the small size, the flavor is concentrated and fresh. Many people find water-grown garlic actually tastes stronger than mature bulbs because the flavor compounds haven't mellowed with long-term storage. Rinse the roots and bulb under cool water to remove any algae or debris. Pat dry with a towel. The entire plant is now ready to use. Some people trim off the roots before cooking, while others leave them on for certain dishes. The green shoots are also completely edible and delicious. They taste like a cross between garlic and green onions, milder than raw cloves but with clear garlic flavor. Chop them up for salads, stir-fries, pasta, or anywhere you'd use chives. These greens are what many restaurants call garlic scapes, though true scapes are the curly flower stalks that appear on mature garlic plants. The flavor is similar enough that they work in any recipe calling for scapes. Use the greens fresh for best flavor. They can be stored in the refrigerator for up to a week, wrapped in a damp paper towel inside a plastic bag. Longer storage causes them to yellow and lose flavor. For longer-term storage, chop and freeze them in ice cube trays with a little water or olive oil. People living in apartments with no garden space can grow garlic on a windowsill. A single sunny window can accommodate 5 or 6 bottles, providing a continuous supply of fresh garlic greens. No need for outdoor space, garden beds, or even containers of soil. Those in climates too hot or too cold for traditional garlic can control the indoor environment. Garlic struggles in zones 9 and above because it doesn't get enough cold weather to trigger proper bulb formation. Indoor water growing eliminates this problem entirely. Similarly, gardeners in very cold climates where ground freezes solid can grow garlic year-round on a windowsill. Anyone who wants fresh garlic flavor in weeks instead of months gets immediate results. There's no waiting through winter. No wondering if the bulbs are developing underground. The entire process is visible and fast. The method is also perfect for teaching kids about plant growth. They can watch roots develop through the clear bottle, which is impossible with soil growing. The fast growth keeps children interested instead of losing attention over months of waiting. Many teachers use this method in classrooms for exactly this reason. It's also a solution for people with limited mobility. No bending, digging, or heavy lifting required. Everything happens at counter height. Water changes are simple and don't require the strength needed for hauling bags of soil or working in garden beds. Once comfortable with the basic bottle method, there are ways to expand. Multiple bottles can be set up in sequence, starting new cloves every 2 weeks for continuous harvest. This creates a rotation system where there's always garlic at various stages of growth. When one plant is harvested, another is just hitting peak production, and fresh cloves are just starting to root. Larger containers like mason jars or small buckets accommodate bigger cloves and produce more substantial growth. Wide-mouth quart jars work particularly well because the opening is large enough for big cloves, but still provides support. Small food-grade buckets from hardware stores can hold multiple cloves at once, creating a mini garlic garden in a single container. Some gardeners transfer the water-grown garlic into soil after 2 weeks of root development, giving it the best of both worlds: fast initial growth in water, then bulb development in soil. This hybrid approach can cut total growing time down to 4 months instead of 9. The water phase jumpstarts the roots, then soil provides the nutrients and conditions needed for bulb formation. For this hybrid method, prepare a pot with good quality potting soil mixed with compost. Once the water-grown garlic has a strong root system, carefully transplant it into the soil, burying the clove and roots while leaving the green shoots above soil level. Water thoroughly and place in full sun. The plant will experience a brief adjustment period, but then continue growing more vigorously than garlic started entirely in soil. Subscribe for more methods that cut growing time and work in small spaces.